Well, welcome everybody to Together We Serve TV show. It's Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. That's another great episode. I think we're at 150 episodes. I say that number and drives me crazy. It makes me happy because I have incredible guests that come on. Today we're going to talk about purpose. The title is Lead with Character, Lead with Purpose. Live with Purpose, excuse me. Are you living with purpose? Do you lead with character? Do you have character? You know what that is? You got to start somewhere. And my guest today is just an expert on this, and he works with so many people to really help them grow personally and professionally. And guess what happens? As they grow, their income grows, their network grows, their business grows. So let's bring our guest on. Todd, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Steve. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be here, and congratulations on 150 plus episodes. I love the show.
Thank you. It's fantastic, and it's fun having great guests like you. And we talked before the show in the green room, live with purpose. What does that mean to you? What should it mean to others?
When I think about living with purpose, it's doing things that actually matter and that make me feel good. We all can go about our days and do different things, have different activities. Maybe we go to work, drive our kids to school, maybe we work out. But at the end of the day, what purpose is about is that what you're actually doing or what I'm doing, it actually matters. And I believe by things mattering, it's lifting others up and making them better and just making the world a better place. Because at the end of the day, when we're gone, people aren't going to necessarily remember, what we did, but they're going to know as to the impact that we made and how we made them feel and how we made the people feel around us. And that's what a legacy is all about. And I think that's what purpose is all about. And I've been fortunate enough to
keep going. Sorry, the crowd's a little excited.
No, I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cliche, but at the end of the day, and I think I was fortunate enough by mistake to kind of find my purpose early in life, and I found it just through being try to help others and lift them up, and that's what led me down my road in my career, and it brings me a lot of fulfillment.
And it's interesting. You talk about what people are going to look like when you're gone. Well, they're not going to forget I missed that meeting on Monday, or I didn't pay that bill Tuesday, or those. They're not, I want to say little things. Things happen. And we delve on those so much, it's like people aren't going to care 10 years later, 5 years later, right? Talk about legacy, because I love what you think about legacy.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I understand what you're saying. And for me, I guess in a way, tragedy actually helped me find my purpose and was my beginning to my journey of leadership. When I was 4 years old, I grew up in a small town in Western Massachusetts. Two loving parents, two brothers. At the time, in 1980, my older brother was 7, I was 4, my younger brother was 2. And our father was a pharmacist in a small town of about 15,000 people. And on weekend mornings, my older brother or we were very lucky that we got to go to work with our father on weekend mornings. And at his pharmacy, they were much different in those days. They weren't like the CVS's or Walgreens or Rite Aids of today. They had a soda fountain where people could go and have coffee, breakfast, lunch. This is a picture of what, you maybe see of what my brothers and I look like sitting on the red vinyl stools and drinking our chocolate milkshakes when I was around 4 years old. I'm the blonde one at the end in the stool with the white shirt on. And we used to go, and our father would teach us all these things about being a good person by greeting customers, by helping count the change from the cash register, by straightening the displays, and just, welcoming everyone. But for some reason, we didn't go to work with him on the morning of Sunday, June 8th, 1980. And later that morning, a robber walked in and shot my dad in the head. So, he died instantly, and our lives were ripped apart instantly. And life was really tough as I was growing up until I was about 11 years old, and there was a major snowstorm hit in New England, where I grew up. It was very common in those days. And I went outside because while our house was filled with a lot of love, it was also filled with a lot of pain, anger, and grief. And sometimes I just had to get outside into the peacefulness of nature. And when you go outside after a snowstorm, this is what my neighborhood looked like. It's really quiet, peaceful. Nobody's on the street, just filled with snow. And I went outside and I grabbed a shovel and I started shoveling snow. This is me shoveling snow in our neighborhood, and it just felt really good to do that work. And when I was done shoveling our driveway, I went to our neighbor's house and I started shoveling their driveway. They asked me, how much I charged, and I said, I don't know, $6. But I shoveled their driveway and they thanked me and they said what a good job I did. Went to the next door and the next door and the next door. And I just found that by shoveling their driveways that day, and when they thanked me and they said, now I could go to the store and get groceries, I can pick up the newspaper, the mailman can deliver the mail. It made me feel really good to know that I was able to help them in that way. And that brought them fulfillment. It brought me fulfillment. And unbeknownst to me, kind of helped me find my purpose by helping others. I was developing my, future career as an entrepreneur and starting a little business that eventually evolved into the medical technology industry and helping people in another way.
I love this story. It's the second time I've heard it. It still gives me goosebumps. Audience, if it didn't give you goosebumps, you're not alive, because not only was it tragic, but you said it. It gave you purpose, where tragedy turned into, benefits the wrong word, turned into, what's the word I'm thinking of? You tell me.
Well, I think, what you mentioned a little bit before was legacy. And I think that word is here. I'd love to change the circumstance. You talked about the things on Monday, you missed a meeting or you could missed a bill or whatever, you couldn't pay that. I'd love to change the circumstances of, the murder of my father, right? But I can't change it. So at the end of the day, what can we do when things happen in life and we can find purpose and lift people up as we move forward by taking one step and putting one step in front of the other? My father, was killed in 1980. And here I am 46 years later talking about his legacy and his impact. And I think, when it comes to purpose and when I talk about long beyond when we're gone on this earth and all of us are not immortal, at some point, we're all going to be gone. We're going to continue to live on. And it's a question of what we do and the actions we take today and how we show up every single day. And through that of purpose is what I'm talking about with the impact that we make and how we make others feel. And that's what people are going to remember. And so I'm here talking about my father, who has been gone for 46 years, but tens of thousands of people now know about him, his story, the impact, and how he showed up in the world. And it's living through me. And hopefully by everyone watching this and realizing that, things are going to happen in life, but we all have a choice as to how we want to show up, and some people like to kick and fight tooth and nail and push other people down and kick people down to rise. You could do that. You step on people's shoulders, you kick them down in the head and you could try to rise. People aren't going to be lifting people up like that for very long, or you can lift other people up and rise together. And that's just what I've subscribed to. And I'll tell you, I would never be here and we would never have met if it wasn't for people who have lifted me along the way in my life. And those are the types of people who will also have a legacy. So I think that's the word that kind of comes to mind. I think you said it perfectly, at the top of the show.
Well, Together We Serve is the name of this show. And it's the perfect example of your neighbors. Together, they served you by saying, hey, and they probably said, hey, go talk to this neighbor. Hey, you'll go, hey, I just saw Steve Ramona. Can I do your... We lose sight of that. We try, and you probably tried to do it your own. I'll deal with it. No, we need the support of others, right?
Absolutely. And I think, one of the things we all have is I was talking to someone the other day and they said, they really needed some help, but they're really hesitant to ask, a business colleague to help them and for advice. And I said, why don't you give them and do them a favor, because it feels good to help people. I mean, it feels good to give. I typically, when I have a gift for someone, I can't wait to give that gift. I think a lot of people feel that way. And sometimes when you ask someone for help, as long as you don't overuse it, and you ask them, hey, can you give me some advice and give me some help? I really could use that. It feels so good. And they're going to be in your corner and they're going to support you. So I didn't think about this when I was 11 years old, going to my next door neighbor and saying, hey, can I shovel your driveway? I just want to shovel the driveway. I wasn't necessarily thinking about it, but unbeknownst to me, they were I was doing a favor for them because they knew that they were helping me out in a way. They're like, hey, there's this kid, look, he's got, single parent, 3 young kids. His mom's working 4 jobs to try to make ends meet. What can I do to maybe help him? And this is a way, look, it's a win-win and we can lift each other up. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of businesses that do that these days, and you don't have to look very far to find them. Yeah.
Well, let's dive in, because I think your Mensch method, came from your dad as well. That's another part of this legacy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just get so much positive energy just saying that was the legacy. Let's talk about the Mensch method and what your dad helped you with that.
Yeah, sure. So the Mensch method, it's a book that I wrote, which started a few years ago. A friend, I was having a conversation and he just said, hey, Todd, when you've shared your story with me and when you've shared it with others, you've shared it with your teams and organizations, it's really helped inspire them. If you wrote a book, you could really impact more people around the world. So for 3 years, I started writing, and I wrote a book called The Mensch Method, Achieving Success Through Character and Life and Business is what it looks like. And basically a mensch is a Yiddish word. It's kind of like bagel or schmooze or schlep. These are words that made their way into English. But mensch is a really great word. It means a person of strong character and integrity, just somebody who tries to do the right thing. For example, if there's trash on the street and you see it, nobody's looking, you pick it up. If somebody needs help and you can help, you help them. And if you can't help them, you don't know if you can help, you find somebody else who can help them, and then you hook them up to help that other person. That's what a mensch will do. And so my father exemplifies those characteristics of being a mensch. He was known as just the mensch of the neighborhood, the pharmacist, and he was really just, my Superman. So through, my book and what I share, it's just about, again, leading with character and living with purpose. And that's what he did in his time on earth. And that's what I'm doing. And I hope that'll inspire other people to do the same.
Yeah, you had definitely inspired me. I know you inspired others. And I guess I could call this show Together We Mensch, because serve and mensch intermingle, right?
Absolutely. I mean, mensch is a really interesting word because there's no one word in English that you can just perfectly define it as. It's a person who just tries to be the best version of themselves every single day, who's caring, who's considerate, who shows up for others, who lifts others up, who works hard, who wants to be the better version of themselves, always wants to try to improve, wants to help other people improve, takes chances, goes for it, and develops resilience. And, realizes that, their time here, they have a choice every single day of the attitude and effort that they're going to expend every single day. And also, for me in my journey, and I think all of us, until something significant happens in our lives, we all realize that at any moment things can change, and it's really hard. You just never know as to what's going to happen in life. So why not make the most of the day and put out positivity? Because if you do that, it's going to make you feel good. It's going to make other people feel good.
And part of that I want to pull out is show up for others, being a mensch or servant heart, whatever you want to call it. That doesn't mean you have to be at that car accident and have to change your tire if you don't know how to do it or you get a bad back. It's showing up for others, whatever that looks like. It's powerful because people will not show up because I can't change that tire, so I'm not going to stop.
Yeah. Look,
stop, check on, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, and all of us can show up for others in different ways. I think one of the biggest things that everybody struggles with, and look, I struggle with it too, we're our own biggest self-critics. So everybody says, oh, you just have to believe in yourself. You can do it. You believe in yourself. Well, when we look in the mirror, we're our own biggest self-critics. We find the faults. We find the things that are wrong. So very often it's the people that are around us that believe in us before we believe in ourselves. And, for example, when I was 8 years old and I was fortunate enough to have a scholarship to go to sleepover camp. And if I wanted to swim in the pool by myself with my friends, I had to pass a test to go from one end of the pool to the other end of the pool. And I could not do it. I had no self-belief. I convinced myself that there was no way that I could accomplish that. But who did believe in me? It was my counselors. And here's a picture, example of what it was like. That's me in the pool. And these are my counselors on the side who trained me, who taught me, who were there cheering. They said, Todd, you got this. I know you can do it. You've been working hard. You've got this. You've got this. And it's been that same way throughout my career as well, where people have shown up for me. And I think the most important thing that I've learned in this is that not only is it, great when we have people around us to help believe in us so that we can believe in ourselves, but everyone can be that person for somebody else, because everybody has self-doubt. And if there's something like even this show, we were talking a little bit and you said, Todd, you've got this. I know your story. We had a call the other day. You gave me kind of a self-boost. This is my first time on your show. And you helped me have some self-belief. It's not overconfidence or anything. It's just, okay, just share your story. Just be yourself. And you've got this. And that helps me. And now I know that I can do that lesson for somebody else.
Yeah. And just like Nike says, just do it. What's the worst thing that happened? It was a great show. And that's where that Together We Serve, the teeter-totter, the pull, yin-yang pull, is you've helped me in a lot of things. I've helped you. And we don't do that enough in this world. We're always like, how can it be better? How can it be better? he's here. I want to be better. No, let's rise together. But all ships rise. I always forget that phrase.
Yeah,
The tide.
yeah, and also just kind of on that, it doesn't, I don't believe in, like transactions, right? Like, oh, you do this for me and I do that for you. No, like if I'm going to help someone or you help someone or whatever it is, the only thing that I expect is like, go help somebody else. I help a lot of young kids right now, graduating college or trying to find jobs, tough economy. And then, one landed an internship this summer and said, thank you so much. Like, I so much appreciate it. I mean, what can I do for you? I said, well, in like 10 years, you're going to be in a great position in your career. And someone who's 22 years old, graduating college, is going to contact you. They're going to contact you cold, and you're going to have a choice. Do you want to help them or not help them? I hope that you're going to choose to help them. And the reason why I hope you're going to choose to help them is because I helped you. And then if you think about this in our world, just overall, if everybody did that, I mean, everybody, right? I mean, across borders, across continents, whatever it is, how much better off we would all be on this earth and how we would all be so much more fulfilled. And, it's a very divided world, that we live in. And it's a very divisive business world as well, where it's very cutthroat. The whole concept of competition, and I work in the medical technology industry, and I worked with people who had different types of stroke in the brain, where they had a blood clot or a bleed in the brain. And there are a number of companies that are, you could say competing with each other. It's kind of like, okay, what are they really fighting? They're not so much fighting with each other. They're fighting with this disease that's killing people. Like, certainly we want to compete and come out with the best possible solution, but there are opportunities to collaborate and help each other, because at the end of the day, if we are able to impact people's lives and move things forward in medicine and reduce the incidence of stroke and help save lives, and we're doing that together, boy, what a legacy we're creating. And by the way, it's going to result in great business success.
You will win. You serve. You'll be a mensch. I'm going to keep saying it because I love saying that word. You will be successful, because that's the problem when I talk to people. I love what you're saying, Todd, but I got bills to pay. I got to make money. It will come. This should be not tied to I'm going to make money. You just do it as your personality.
Yeah, I mean, when you think as well, and I know it sounds like, oh yeah, you just do all these things. Think about companies, and we spoke the other day about Costco. I love Costco. I love Trader Joe's. When I go into Costco, they're going to take anything back if I have a return. They're not going to gouge the customers. I mean, they're fair. Their policies are very fair. Their employees work there, gosh, for 20, 30 years. I mean, they treat their employees well. So I'd say like they're a Mensch-like company. Nordstrom in the day, there's stories where they said somebody brought a tire back to Nordstrom once and they took the tire back. I mean, it's just that type of thing by, serving not just others, but serving your customer, because they have a problem. And if you're able to help them solve their problem or help them in a way, they'll never forget it. And then they're going to pay it forward by probably telling other people to come, hey, that's a really trustworthy, company. And they didn't gouge me. In fact, they probably maybe even lost money on this deal, but I trust them. Why don't you go there? And you think about the businesses, it's a referral thing. Like, in this world, it's who you trust, who you can build relationships with. And the best way to do that is by being of strong character and a stand-up person. And, when you have that reputation, that does result in not only higher revenue, but of course, higher profit, and attracts talent, retains talent, develops talent, and builds leaders, that make a positive impact in the world.
Well, and you're making some great points, because that's their marketing plan and mission. I know in their marketing plan, I've heard Costco's marketing plan, we'll just take everything back. We know, like what happened with you, they made you happy. What are you going to do? I know I'm going to go back and try that lamp, because if it doesn't fit, I can bring it back, or that shirt, or that whatever it may be. It's, Trader Joe's, and there's many companies like that. But that's marketing, which I love, because are those companies successful?
Super successful.
Super. And they do that. Even Nordstrom's packed. People would go there. I don't know how they're doing now, if they're still around and things happen. It doesn't matter. They were super successful, because when I go in with my girlfriend at the time, now wife, it was like, it's packed in here. Why are people? Well, part of it's marketing.
I mean, even after I shoveled snow and the snow melted, I was sharing that story. They need somebody to mow their lawn, and they could have chose anybody, but they said, "Hey, Todd, will you mow our lawn?" I'm like, "I don't have a lawnmower, but I had money saved. I bought a lawnmower." And then they wanted their leaves raked. They said, "Hey, will you rake our leaves?" Because they knew they trusted me. They knew I was going to do a good job. They knew I was going to be considerate and caring, and it made me feel good to do that. And people like when they get positive reinforcement, positive feedback, and it's helping them. So I think companies do this too. And that, at the end of the day, builds very successful businesses and successful people with strong character in there. And people generally, I think, like to do business or connect and interact with people who have characteristics that they'd like to see in themselves.
Yeah, if a 16-year-old can do that mowing lawns, why can't a 45, 50, 60-year-old CEO that runs a company have that culture as well? Because it's the same thing. It's just a larger number. That's all. So we're coming to the end here, Todd. What's a piece of advice you'd give the audience here at the end to live with purpose?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think, something like I touched on before is every single day we have a choice, and we can only, with that choice, control two main things: our attitude and our effort. How we're going to show up with what type of perspective and the work ethic that we're going to put in that day. And so the advice I give is just think about that every single day, that's something that you can control. And I hope that you're going to choose to come in with a positive attitude, a can-do attitude, and you're going to work hard. And at the end of the day, you're going to feel good about that specific day, and you're going to identify something that maybe you can do better tomorrow, because every single day is an opportunity to do better than you did the day before. And through that, if you do that every single day and you focus on others, you're going to find your purpose and make a positive impact in the world.
Powerful. That's all I got to say, audience. He makes it sound, he's so humble, but he's nailed it, because it's really that simple, but the action's the hard part. It's easy to talk about it, but you've got to take action. To reach out to Todd, down below, you've seen the ticker go by. You can connect with them on LinkedIn and Instagram. Any other ways you want people to connect with you?
I have a website, Todd Zive, Zive.com. People can check me out on that. And other than that, I just look forward to hearing from people. And if you do read the book, or please leave a review, share with me, ping me. I love hearing from people as to how it's positively impacting their lives and how they're gifting it to others to help them in their journeys.
And audience, if you reach out to them, mention this show, or reach out to me, and I'm going to send the first 3 people that do that, I'm going to send you the Mensch Method, so you can be a great person, even a better person if you're a great person, because I believe everybody can be great. I'm going to give you a gift, because taking action, we need to reward that, because not enough people do. A lot of talk out there in the world between social media, news, and everything else, and the talk is not good. We want good talk out there like we talked today. And Todd, thank you so much for spending the time with me and being a great guest.
Thanks so much for the opportunity, Steve. I loved it, and I really appreciate you with the generosity and you being such a servant leader by giving that gift to others who reach out. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And audience, we'll see you all next Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, for the TV show Together We Serve. Find us on e360tv.com or any of the Roku TV streaming platforms. And if you're watching live, listen to this again, because I'm pretty fired up right now. If I want to get fired up, I'm going to listen to Todd. Take care, everybody.